Aloha Manga Club, it's your boy Aloha Lee signing in for this episode of the Manga Club, and today we are joined by a very special guest, Evan, the co-host for the American Sushi podcast, and honestly, just an all-around great guy. Evan, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great, Brian. Thank you for having me on Manga Club. I'm a longtime viewer, first-time guest.
And
very excited to be here.
I'm genuinely excited to have you on because the way that you and Brandon really set up American Sushi is just so much fun to participate in as a guest. We had like a 2-hour conversation. And
yeah.
I'm gonna be honest here. You know me. I was 100% in my underwear the whole time.
Yes, we saw behind the curtain because we had some technical issues. I didn't see the underwear, but I saw the lounging going on.
There was absolute lounging, and it was just so much fun to be on as a guest, and you shamed me. You shamed me at the end of the episode, though.
What do you mean by that? What in the world could you possibly be talking about?
You made two games that were absolutely impossible.
I don't know if they were impossible. Okay, I think you're giving me too much credit here. I think one of them is your lack of paint knowledge. I think that's kind of an issue there. I even explicitly said, make sure you read up on all your paint colors before you come on the podcast, because we exclusively talk about Sherwin-Williams.
I didn't know it was going to be that deep of a game.
And you said, okay, I know everything about Sherwin-Williams, so I put you to shame. You put your own paint knowledge.
What about the most obscure characters in all of anime?
Okay, you didn't know the belly girl that I don't remember the name of?
Oh, yeah. Oh, you don't know. I was supposed to remember that she was in literally like 4 frames of One Piece.
Or Mr. Daddy or whatever his name was with the cool hat. The Dr. Seuss hat. You don't remember him? How did you? Okay, I have to know how you found these characters. Like, I need to know how you made this game. Oh, I really want to peek behind the curtain for this because it's really stupid. So, a lot of the times I'll go and I'll search whatever anime that I know Brandon has seen or I know one of our guests has seen, and I'll look up group shots and I'll find someone looking really obscure in the background. Okay, that's what I did at the beginning, but I've transitioned from that. I've grown, I've learned. So now I'll go to the wiki for whatever anime or show it is. And I'll just find some names that look kind of funny, and I'll click on them, and I'm like, oh, that's someone I actually know. Never mind. Or if I don't know them, I'll be like, are they canon? And if they're canon, I'll draw them. I'll draw them. So that's how I found Miss Belly and whatever else their names were.
Miss Not Nami.
Yeah. You guys thought was Nami showing her big old tummy, and you're like, that's Nami. That's her.
I thought it was a creative choice on your part to draw Nami like that. I'm gonna be honest.
But yeah, that's how I find that. And then when it comes to like quotes or anything, that's a very similar process. I'll go find quotes for very obscure people from the wiki.
That is honestly legendary.
It was good. The paint one is not as fun of a story because I definitely just went to Sherwin-Williams websites and clicked on different colors till I found dumb names.
Yeah, and then you kept including dumb names that sounded realistic for the other ones, which made it so much harder.
Yeah, that's me putting my English degree to use. They said, you won't get a job making coffee with this degree. And I said, let me tell you, I can come up with realistic sounding paint names. So who's the real winner here?
So you have a degree in English?
I have an English literature degree, yes.
What? Mm-hmm. So that means that you judge me for reading Harry Potter because it's not high level literature.
I think there is a certain class of English, like, scholars that would say like manga or young adult literature and stuff like that isn't real literature, right? There's not a merit to it. There's definitely that school of thought.
How is that a school of thought? How is there no merit to young adult books? Because they're aimed at young adults, or in my case, people who can't read tiny words on really small pages.
And I think it's definitely a part of like there is this canon, which is like the books that everyone should read. That's your Shakespeare, your Hemingway, your Mark Twain, all that, the stuff you need to read. And so if it doesn't fit into that, then it's not worthwhile reading.
They've only got like 40 books then that they can read throughout their entire life.
Exactly. So like that's definitely not where I align myself.
Shakespeare's sonnets are so dry and boring.
All right, we're not going to diss Shakespeare on this right now, because Shakespeare can infuse sonnets into his plays without anyone ever noticing.
I will give he created a ton of words actually.
Absolutely
a ton of work. I think bedroom was actually credited to him.
Mm-hmm.
Which
and his insults. Have you ever seen those shirts or like designs that have all the Shakespearean insults? Because those are really fun.
I bite my thumb at thee.
Yes,
line.
there it is.
I love
there
that line.
There's Romeo and Juliet.
You're acting like I never read A Midsummer Night's Dream or Romeo and Juliet. Please.
And I think, and Macbeth is the one that really like stands with me, is because like the main character is a serial killer, basically. And the fact that Shakespeare got into his head in such an interesting way back hundreds of years ago, to the point where we still can refer back to that and be like, this is an interesting psychological study. Like, that's pretty cool to me.
So how do you, I know that this is technically not manga, but I want to pick your brain because it's so interesting talking to an English literature major. Do you think Shakespeare was actually one person or multiple people?
I don't think there's enough evidence to prove he's multiple people or his sister or whatever else the conspiracy theories are. I mean, I don't know that we'll ever have an answer to it. Like, so I just subscribe to that. I think it's just William Shakespeare that did it, that wrote them.
You mean Bill Shakespeare?
Billy Bob Shakespeare.
Oh, Bill Bob Shakespeare out there.
That's him.
You know, all that I'm picturing now is like William Shakespeare dressed exactly how he, like, you see him pictured, with like a dip in his lip, talking like a southern accent. Dang old man, come on,
we got
get that
over
dip.
Here to enter the scene.
Got that Romeo and Juliet bite my thumb right over there. Like, some of his insults literally sound like redneck insults.
Yeah,
like,
super.
Like, what normal person have you ever heard say, "I bite my thumb at thee"? But you know, being from the Midwest, like some of the insults, you're like,
very odd.
You're like, this seems very Midwest specific. Like, I bite my thumb at thee. I'm like, I could see a redneck saying that. Like,
my favorite is you can hold your shit in one hand and your wants in the other and see which one weighs more.
That is 100% a redneck quote.
That's absolutely Midwest redneck.
I've heard that.
It's so good.
I've heard that, and it's from people who don't have very many teeth.
Exactly.
I'm like, you're quoting Shakespeare over here.
They got their spit jug on their porch, and they're like, hold your shit in one hand. But yeah, I mean, I think, and the movement within English literature has definitely transitioned more towards young adult, and like what people are reading is what's important. Because there's not as many people reading now, at least not books. So like there are courses and units and stuff throughout my educational career on like fan fiction and stuff like that, studying it. Like my degree was very cool to get. I'm very happy for my education. And one of the interesting things is that like within grammar, that's an awful like lead up. Interesting thing, grammar, okay? But there are two schools of thought to grammar. There's prescriptionist, which is like, you need your periods here. Like there are rules, and if you don't follow them, you're wrong. And then there's descriptionist, which is however people talk is what's correct.
I like the descriptionist.
And that's so interesting to me.
I like them the most. They seem the most realistic and down to earth.
And like, and it's so fascinating because there's the prescriptionists are fighting a losing battle, basically, because you're not going to have kids in schools saying, why, yes, I would love, may I use the bathroom? Like stuff like that, like very proper English, quote unquote,
you know why?
Isn't going to be used.
Because they'd be beat up. They'd get their ass kicked. Like as a teacher, I'd look, may I please use the bathroom? So like if I was a teacher, I'd be sitting there going,
like,
what the hell?
Who wants to beat this kid up? Raise your hand, let's go.
I'm going to leave the room. If he's beat up by the time that I get back, I don't care.
Wink, wink.
Wink, wink. I'll be back in 5 minutes. Here's the timer. And I just leave. Like if I had spoken like that, I would have expected my ass to get beat.
Yeah,
like, hands
that's
down.
the plan.
Because the English language, unlike Latin, is not dead. It's always changing with the times.
Absolutely.
The reason why Latin, and correct me if I'm wrong, the reason why Latin is used in the medical and scientific profession is because it's a dead language that is not changing, which means that once you describe something with it, it does not change with the times.
Yeah.
And that's unlike the bomb. The bomb can mean a bunch of things. There's 20 different things for it. That's the bomb. It could be a hot sauce, like on Hot Ones, da bomb. It could be, literally, it means something so cool. It means an explosion. Like, that's why you can't use a prescriptionist point of view, in my opinion, for the English language, because it's always changing. It's modifying. It's growing. English in the past 300 years has changed drastically. Like, if you were to read a book in Old English, you wouldn't be able to understand it, but it's still English.
Understand it, yeah. Because people who think Old English is like ye and thou and this, that's modern English. That's middle modern English. That's not Old English.
Old English
is symbols. Like, good
Old
luck.
English is mean. Then,
good luck.
Like, by my, like, troth, like, they throw in so many words that, like, English is a bastard language.
It is.
It's Latin. It's Germanic.
Romance languages.
Yeah,
it's everything.
There's like 4 languages. It's literally English is lazy.
Absolutely.
We couldn't pronounce words in other languages, and we're like, screw it. We'll just keep this works. This is fine.
Let's make a new one.
We'll make a new one. But that's also what makes. You ready for this transition?
Ooh, let's hear it.
Let's hear. The fact that the English language changes so much makes translations of manga and anime really interesting to look at.
There it is. There's the transition. That's why you get the big bucks.
I get money. I get money? When did that happen?
Yeah, you charged me to come on this.
Damn, how did you know?
It's
it's double now since you mentioned it.
Oh, great.
So,
yeah.
Like, let's take a look at. We were talking for like almost an hour before we started recording about One Piece. Let's take a look at how translations happen in subbed anime by Nekomamushi and Inarashi.
Okay.
Those are their names. They're not a descriptor of the creature, but in the anime adaptation, the translators made the conscious decision to call them Snake Viper and Dogstorm. That's like if you that's like if you were to call me by my middle name, James, okay? Brian James Morehouse. Brian means princely. That's like if you were to call me James is usurper. Right? That's like if you call me princely usurper when you're talking to me. That's not my name. Like, why would
walking down the street and I see you and I say, "What's up, Prince the Usurper?" You'd be like, "Shut up! Don't talk to me, please."
Who are you? How do you know this about me? What the hell? But I think, as an English, expert, I'm going to call you an expert. I don't even care if you did not. Yeah.
Okay. Great.
Yes, you are now my English expert.
Yeah. There's no way that's going to backfire. But anyways.
Absolutely not. Don't you worry. When it comes to semantics, I'll start playing real hard.
Okay.
Semantics is my strong suit because it all depends.
And wordplay.
Hey,
I saw your tweets today.
Some of them were intentional, some of them were not. You just got to reach a little bit.
The pun's always intended. Never let anyone tell you otherwise.
How's it a dad joke if you don't know that you're not a dad?
Exactly.
I mean, I don't know if I have kids or not. I don't know. I don't know if I do. I don't know if I don't. So at this point, I'm Schrodinger's dad.
Schrodinger's dad. I got anything else to do right now. Sorry.
So, on a translation point, why do you think they made that decision to call them by their translated names instead of by their actual names? To me, that seems like a very big misstep, and it's very awkward sounding too.
Yeah, I agree, and I think a lot of it's the translators and people who do that sort of thing think of the general population, at least in America, and general population in America is pretty stupid. I
mean, yeah. And think of your average person, and half people are dumber than that. Yeah,
absolutely. Exactly. That's awful. That's a terrible way to. That's a great way to think about it, but it's very, very depressing. But so they're not gonna their thought process is they're not gonna remember these long Japanese names. Snake Viper. That's way, way more recognizable.
If that. It's so dumb, though.
Yeah,
I don't so dumb. I don't like it. What's your character's name? Oh, he's Kenemon. What's his name? Momonosuke. What's his name? Oh, that's Ranosuke. What's your name? Snake Viper.
Snake Viper.
It sounds like a really bad 80s villain.
Yeah, or Power Rangers, straight out of Power Rangers, basically.
Oh my god. So
Kamen Rider.
You would love my buddy Cameron. I don't know if you got to watch that episode with my buddy Cameron. He actually has made his own tokusatsu character.
Really?
His own henshin character. And I've helped film, and I'm a character in it. I'm in a comic. I'm actually I'm soon to be a comic character.
Yes, that's awesome.
Plug. This is 100% subtle plug. Look up Godpunk, everybody. I know that we're a bit behind on the Kickstarter, but unfortunately, COVID happened.
Yep.
literally like 2 weeks after, like a week after it was a really weird few weeks, like that month in with COVID stuff. Like, it sounds really weird. Like, my dad died, my buddy's Kickstarter ended, and then COVID all happened. Like, within the same, like, 2 weeks. It was really weird. And thankfully, the Kickstarter ended right before COVID started. Otherwise, people would have asked for their money back, and we would have been screwed.
Mm-hmm.
But we are trying to get the highest quality product out to the backers, because to us, that's the most important thing, is providing quality.
Sure. And I think you, with regards to you personally, like, you seem like, just from the times that I've spoken to you, you've got a moth too?
No, it's a wasp.
Oh, much better.
Yeah, horrifying.
A lot more fun.
Yeah.
But you're such a genuine person, Brian. And I think that comes across so well, because, like, anyone can just say we want the highest quality. But when you say it, I really believe you. And I know your personality and your growth mindset. Like, you're not going to stop until you do get that highest quality product out.
It's, to me, if I'm making something that people are wanting to consume, I don't want to waste your time with either low quality in either the content or in the sound, like in the actual design portion of it.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, that's so important, and people don't understand that. Like, good editing, good sound, like, sometimes that even supersedes the information as to what people are getting. Because honestly, let's talk about the American populace, because I'm definitely not going to screw myself over by saying something stupid here. We're so consumed by what we're told on social media that a lot of the times we take what's told to us as the truth without doing any research. So I can make a video about, like, One Piece, make up facts about it, and if no one fact checks me, people are going to believe what I say. And
they're going to cite you. They're going to say, this is why Zoro has an eye shut. It's because of Brian saying he fell on a rock.
Yeah, he fell on a rock, and it's just one of those. It's like it's just one of those discussions that's like so entertaining to see. Like, you need to provide quality, because your word, at some point, somebody's going to perceive your word as truth. And why would you want low quality truth when you can have high quality truth?
Yeah, exactly.
But it's just so much, and I love creating things. Like, I love discussions. Like, the Manga Club is probably my favorite portion of my manga channel, like my anime channel, my otaku channel, because I get to talk with other creators. I get to get in their minds, see how they try to screw me over on obscure character games. But
it's quite an art form, really.
But I think that's something that's really unique when it comes to YouTube, is the quality is in your hands, literally. If you can't provide high looking quality, if you can't provide, like, good sound quality, you need to have high quality content. You need to have something in there that's high quality, because if all that you're doing is low quality and expecting something good to happen, you're not only being a wishful thinker, you're insulting the people who are potentially looking to watch your video.
And you're setting yourself up for failure.
Yeah, and you're wasting your own time. Yeah, you're wasting your time, you're wasting my time, and I would rather not have anything to do with you.
Yeah, exactly. And that's why my Minecraft Let's Plays never took off, because I was recording them at 4 FPS on my laptop.
You had 4 FPS? Damn, girl.
It was rough.
I know. You were exploding with that.
I'm not
FPS.
Trying to flex or anything, but it was pretty cool. I did Sky something or other, and something else that was popular at the time.
Sky something? Is that has it been remade over the last 12 13 years 100 of times?
Oh, there's no way. I was the only one who ever did it. Minecraft Let's Play, me, pioneer.
So, what are you, a PC gamer? Are you a PlayStation, Xbox, Nintendo? What kind of gamer are you?
Ooh, okay. I would say for the most part, I'm wherever good JRPGs are, that's where I'm at. So I'm playing through Persona 4 Golden on PC right now. I played through Dragon Quest XI on my Switch, and then I played Madden from time to time on my Xbox. I mean, so those are my big games that I play, basically.
I mean, Madden, that's because Madden's not just a generational thing. Madden is sports.
Well, yeah. And I mean, if you can get it cheap enough, that's my thing, is I'm not going to buy the same game for $60.
No, that's
But
stupid.
when it's on sale 6 months down into its lifespan for like $10, sure, Let me get that. I'll play that. All day. Played enough to make $10 worth for sure.
Yeah, I mean, you get to go through. I mean, that and the Madden Curse. For those of you that don't know about the Madden Curse, Evan, do you know about it?
Yeah, of course.
Okay, so
it's been broken recently, but
Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah, he broke it.
Out of Kansas City. Actually, so I looked up some. So I got really bored one day.
Okay.
And I mean, really, really bored.
Ooh, I'm excited.
So. Madden Curse. So the Madden Curse has been broken a few times, actually.
Yeah.
But the ratio still stands that more people who have been on the cover of Madden have also either had career-ending problems because just coincidentally after this.
Yeah.
Let's take a look. Where is it? Yeah, I can't remember everyone. There he is, Drew Brees. What has he done?
Drew Brees won Super Bowls.
Who cares? Who cares?
What has he done?
But in 2011, when he was on the cover, they lost in the playoffs because he hurt his knee. Then there was,
and it's always surrounding the cover athlete. It's never like anything else.
It's just the cover athlete. It's not like the full team. It's just the cover athlete. So we're gonna see what happens to Lamar Jackson this year.
Yep, that's true.
Technically, Patrick Mahomes is on the cover of 2020, and guess what's happening right now? COVID.
And that's his fault.
That's his fault. I mean, he suffered.
He has a Kermit the Frog voice. If anyone hasn't heard his voice, it sounds real goofy.
He seems like a nice guy, though.
He seems like a great guy. But he's got a goofy fucking voice.
But here's the thing: they're considering not cursed, but I would, because he was on the cover of it, and he actually had a kneecap injury that put him out for 2 weeks.
Injury, yeah, you're right.
So he technically received the curse. He's just talented enough that the curse didn't affect him fully.
He's like, fuck it.
He's like,
fucking Tyreek's down there somewhere.
He's like, I'll just throw it to Tyreek Hill. It'll be okay.
Great.
I've been to one NFL game, and it was a Chiefs game before Patrick Mahomes.
Oh, that's sad.
Yeah, it was super sad. Just like I went to go see the Royals before they won the World Series.
Oh, good.
Like I was like, how does this even happen? I was like, how? So I need to once Kansas City finally gets a sports an NBA team, I'll go watch them, and then like a year later they're gonna win the championship. Yeah, I'm totally down for that. But the Royals have had like the greatest like upset in history. They were like at the peak, and now they're at the bottom again. Like they rock bottomed so hard. they went downhill so fast because they were like, how did we win? We weren't expecting to win the World Series.
It makes no sense how they won.
They had no money to keep their best players on, and some of their best players were also like, that was their final season of being a quality player.
That was their good season. Yep.
Yeah, like for example, Alex Gordon.
Like, who?
Exactly. No one knows him. Like, you mentioned his name now, everyone's like, who is that? But you talked about him 2 years ago during the run, and before the run, he was the king. Like, he was the Patrick Mahomes of the Royals. Like, that's the best way to describe Alex Gordon. He was like, somebody's like, he had the opportunity to trade to a different team for more money back when he was at his peak, and he chose to stay with the Royals because he was like, nah, I'd rather stay in Kansas City. It's easier. Like, what kind of baller man is like, nah, I don't need more money. I just like, I like,
like Kansas City. That's the market I would like to play for.
Hey, you know what? Patrick Mahomes has now signed a 10-year deal. He'll probably retire after that happens. Like,
what would you do with $500 million, Brian? Because that's what he's getting paid. It's $500 million.
You know what would you do? I don't know what I'd do with $1 million.
Exactly.
Like, I don't.
Exactly.
$500 million. That's so much more money than I can possibly conceive. Like,
that's way more than I can count.
I can barely count past 10. I'm a powerlifter.
That's what I was gonna say. Like, I can't count 10.
I get to 12 and I'm like, all right, what comes after this?
That's why I picked English.
Don't you have to be able to count in English? Like, when you're reading poetry, you have to be able to count the lines to make sure that it's, following the right parameters of the pentameter.
Yeah, but I don't like poetry, so it works out.
That's fine. Actually, there's an interesting rap artist who was on the Warped Tour circuit. His name was
Oh,
MC
cool.
Lars.
Okay.
And he wrote an Edgar Allan Poe rap.
Oh, that's crazy.
Yes.
That's awesome, man.
Like, I love me some pop punk. Like, you know that I love me some pop punk.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Dude, it's my lifestyle. Like, this morning I was listening to the new album that Neck Deep put out.
Ooh, okay.
Yes.
I didn't know they had a new album.
Yes, they do. It's actually, it's a little bit more popular than I'm used to, but it's also a little bit, there's some more experimental things that they did with a few of them. They had like a very slow, like almost, I don't want to call it a spoken word, but it feels very spoken word inspired song.
Yeah.
And I really love Neck Deep. Like, I don't know what it is about them. I just really enjoy them.
Yeah, I like them a lot too.
But I think right now my favorite active pop punk band, I'm saying this active-wise, is the Wonder Years.
Yeah, yep. They're a good one.
He's like, their lyrical ability is just so intense to get his emotions across. Like, I just want to give Soupy a hug. That's exclusively it.
Like, I ordered my first vinyl yesterday, or like this week, for Benchmarks, which is very, very unknown pop punk band.
Really? Benchmarks?
Benchmarks, yep. I have a shirt from them and everything. They mailed it to me during COVID. I ordered it like right before everything was shut down, and they're based out of Nashville, so they also got hammered by tornadoes. So I got like 2 emails from the lead singer saying, "Hey, I'm really sorry that you're not getting this right now, but everything's going on." I'm like, dude, take your time. Whenever you get this to me, I will wear it proudly. Oh,
it's absolutely just like I told you about my guys, Some Are Better Than Yours. I've had their same shirt since I was 18. And I wear it to the gym constantly because I love, like, they're just a bunch of good guys. By the way, for those of you that hear that pounding noise and the staple guns, it's because my roof is currently being redone. Yes. Like, actively 10 feet from me.
It's all right.
I'm not even joking. They're right above my head.
I'm really happy, and to be on here, I'm just pounding my desk constantly.
Oh, yes, that's how excited I should be. Dude, like... So what kind of musical genre do you like? I mean, obviously pop punk, we have these discussions. Is there anything else that you really enjoy listening to?
I get into various like alt rock, which is slightly different than pop punk. Oh, the Wasp is back. Yes, live Wasp cam. Oh, I'm so happy.
Okay, so alternate rock.
Alt rock. I dig, like, my guilty pleasure, which I'm not super guilty about, is Taylor Swift. Like,
T Swift, yes.
I'm watching the show right now, sorry.
He's behind the curtains, everybody. Okay.
Get it.
He's hiding. He's hiding now. He's hiding. Come back for me.
He's made his home.
I slapped him away.
He's planting his eggs.
So T Swift is a guilty pleasure. I mean,
Taylor Swift.
Are we talking Are we talking new T Swift, or are we talking back when she was a country artist?
I like all brands of Taylor. All of them. Country. I like her new stuff, like Taylor Swift.
I can respect that.
As an artist, I am very fond of.
A surprising one for me, I really enjoy John Mayer.
I like John Mayer too.
He's a national treasure. He just seems so chill.
Yeah. Him and oh my god. Like Andy Grammer, I like
Hoosiers.
Hoosiers? Oh, I know a couple of theirs.
There's
and like
Ooh, you know a surprising one that you might not know? Andrew McMahon in the Wilderness? So, do you ever heard of Jack's Mannequin?
I've heard that name. I don't know that I've heard any of their music.
I'm going to guess that you've heard at least one of their songs if you listen to any pop punk. Dark Blue is a classic song.
Sounds familiar, yeah.
Like, so, he's actually he was in another band. Like, this is how my music knowledge goes. He was in an early 2000s pop punk band.
Okay.
Called Something Corporate.
Something Corporate. I like that name.
Something Corporate. Like, he started in Something Corporate in 1998 to 2006, but at the same time he started doing Jack's Mannequin, and then he did, Andrew McMahon in the Wilderness, which was Cecilia and the Satellite. Awesome. I love his voice. It's so relaxing. Just very relaxing.
Another, like, this is very kind of off this genre, but I really like Lil Nas X. I think he is super talented, and I think he is, like, one of the few, like, authentic artists in pop music.
See, I really enjoy Tech Nine.
Tech Nine?
Tech Nine. You've never heard of Tech Nine?
I don't think I've ever heard of Tech Nine.
Man, Tech Nine is speed rapper. Like he's a good rapper, but he also does speed rapping. And he's done collaborative songs. His most recent one is with Hollywood Undead.
Really?
Yes.
I can see Hollywood Undead going with a rapper.
Oh, Tech Nine. Sure Tech Nine has also been on. He's had Eminem on a few of his songs. He's Kansas City born and bred.
Oh, of course.
He loves KC. Oh yeah, like his name was Aaron Dantes Yates. But I just really enjoy a lot of what he does. He's one of the most prolific independent rappers out there. He has his own label called Strange.
Cool. And I think that's very similar to Lil Nas X, because he was like 2 years ago living in his sister's house, like posting on Instagram.
Oh, I mean,
that's what he did.
That's how he became so popular. He just attached his song to every single meme that he could think of. Like and every Old Town single Road one.
Is iconic.
Old Town Road gonna get me.
Whether you like it or not at this point, with how much it's been played, like that was very unique. And like the fact that they took it, there was such that controversy of them taking it off the country charts. I thought that was really dumb.
He should have been on the country charts. It's he had a country artist. I mean, oh god,
Bill
what's their names? Did you know that what's that super? This isn't the right way to describe them. I know this for a fact, but they're the super douchey, like king of indie folk music. Oh god.
The Mumford and Sons?
Yes, Mumford and Sons tried to go country. They tried to go country.
I'm so glad I knew it from your description that it was Mumford and Sons.
Is there any way to understand Mumford and Sons?
No, that's a really good descriptor for it.
I don't hate their music, but literally they just sound so douchey. I think one of the best jokes that I've heard is there was a Kansas City. I watched this on YouTube. He was doing this joke in L.A. It was somebody who was from Kansas City, and he was like, "Yeah, there were the Marlins and Mumford and Sons were in town. We were at the bar. We were sitting there drinking, and I was hanging out with my buddy who was a pitcher for the Marlins.
Yeah,
and Mumford and Sons was there, but it turns out it wasn't Mumford and Sons. It was just and Sons." I was like, "Damn."
Great.
But yeah, Mumford and Sons tried to break onto the country music scene.
And I feel like that's much easier to transition.
They failed. They only had one song, and they took like the country albums took it off after 2 weeks because it wasn't country enough. And I sat there and I was like, no, this is actually pretty country. You know, I hear a banjo.
Yeah, they need to get off their high horse about their country music.
You have Luke Bryan. You guys have Luke Bryan. How is the Mumford and Sons with their banjo not country enough?
That reminds me of the Bo Burnham country song he did, where he's like making fun of the country artists that are now and how manufactured it is and everything.
Oh, Bo Burnham is a national treasure when it comes to...
He is so good. Have you seen his movie that he made recently?
Wasn't that 8th grade or something like that?
Yes.
I have not gotten to see that.
Oh, I own that on Blu-ray. I love that film. It is so good.
I don't know what he does in his mind.
Yeah.
He's just so good, and he makes fun of himself too. If he was in He was in Parks and Rec as himself, being a douchebag.
And he started on YouTube too, which I think is he's one of the first big made it off YouTube. Like him and I think Justin Bieber too started on YouTube.
Justin Bieber started on YouTube and then was found by, I think, don't quote me, I might be wrong, Chad Kroeger.
Oh, really?
Yes, Chad Kroeger owns basically every single Canadian artist. Every single one.
There's another hot take. I like Nickelback quite a bit.
That's not a hot take. They sold out stadiums. A lot of people like Nickelback.
That's I grew up with Nickelback, so I love it. It's got that nostalgia for me.
Rockstar, Animals, don't get me wrong.
Remind me?
Let me be perfectly frank. These are very sexist songs.
Absolutely.
100%. Very sexist, very bro, these are it's weird to say bro white trash rock.
Yeah, absolutely.
But I was also 16 when I listened to them, so I hear them oh man, I love this song. It's just a mental thing where this is so good.
Yeah, and it's so interesting because with music, I've started using this analogy in my work a lot when I'm talking about active listening. And I'm like, when you hear music, if you're just hearing the sounds and the melodies, you're not really listening to it. You're not really listening. But if you hear the lyrics and the meaning behind it, that's how you're actively listening.
I can
and so I'll
agree to
teach kids that all the time.
I think I don't actively listen to Nickelback. I consume it.
Yeah.
I think I think there's actively listening and consuming, and I think there's a complete difference in the two.
Yep.
Because if you're sitting there and you're trying to break down a song, that's when you're actively listening. But if you're just there going for the beat, just there to kind of pump you up, like during a workout, I'm not going to be actively listening.
No.
Like I'm going to be consuming for the beat, for the feel, for the vibe.
Along. I'm not listening to it.
You're just getting in your own headspace. Like yesterday, I was warming up for deadlifts, listening to Shawn Mendes and what's her name singing Senorita. Yeah, singing Senorita. That's such a There's no depth to that song, but it's so catchy. Like I consume it, and I'm like, okay, I'll just get going. I'll be like, just doing a little shoulder dance thing that getting ready for warm up, just doing this. And it's so interesting to see how I think, obviously this is supposed to be the Manga Club, so we have to talk about manga at some point in time.
Yeah, and I think this is a good transition.
This is a great transition. I think there's such a thing as, consuming manga and actively reading manga. And
absolutely.
I think that there are different points where each one's okay. And I think there's different manga for each taste. I think there's some manga specifically designed to be consumed, not broken down.
Yes, and I think even with regards to anime too, I think there's a total difference between sitting down and watching Code Geass and having Dragon Ball Z playing in the background while you're cooking.
Oh, absolutely. Like Code Geass, I watched part of Code Geass actually. And I think you can consume it pretty easily. And I think you can also actively break it down.
Same with Death Note. That's another good example.
Really? We're going to talk about this? You really want to do this right now?
Oh, you don't? Oh, yeah, that's right. You hate Death Note.
And let me be as clear as I can. Part of it, as Nux Taku would say, is for the meme. At this point, I'm so committed to my hatred of it. I can't ever go back on my hatred of it.
Yeah.
But I think it's just my big dislike for it stems from the fact that I think it's so overrated and so overblown. And once you really start actively breaking it down, there's so many plot holes in it that don't stand up to scrutiny. Everyone sits there and they try to go super deep, but when you actively break down the series, you only have three strong characters. I'll count Ryuk. You only have three well-written-ish characters, and the actions.
I don't know that I can list anything about him except he's a little bit manipulative and he likes apples.
That's all that you need to know.
I love Death Note. I think Death Note's great, but I could not list you very much about Ryuk.
He loves watching people play games against each other because it doesn't affect him. He loves apples because apples and this should tell you how much I actively know what I'm talking about when I say my hatred of Death Note, because although I don't consume it, I understand it. Ryuk loves the apples because they actually have flavor compared to the Shinigami world. He loves watching games happen because he gets bored in the overworld. He wants to be down in here consuming it. He doesn't just want to be watching television, because that's what it is. They can see the human world from where they're at. He wants to be television.
Be the actor.
Right. And that's conveyed fairly well because he's a passive observer, and there's only one or two times that he really contributes to the story and anything meaningful. One of those is when the FBI guy's wife lies about her name. And he laughs.
And he laughs.
He goes, liar. And if that had been wrong, Light would have written down the wrong name. Because he wouldn't have guessed, and that's how is it that Light didn't guess that she was lying about her name? From
Mr.
a
Genius
standpoint, Mr. Genius, who's described as being the smartest man in the freaking world, didn't pick up that this person was lying, even though he's great at social cues, right? That's a problem number one. L is actually the most consistent character throughout the entire manga. 100%. He doesn't start off. He never once says that he's a good guy, ever. He just says that he wants to solve the world's greatest mysteries. That's it. He's willing to do anything to solve the world's greatest mysteries, and he never tries to paint himself as the hero or the villain. He just says, I am justice for the fact that he, in the game exclusively between him and Light, he sees himself as justice. He doesn't see himself as justice overall, and he's actually, if we were to take a look at this, comparing it to One Piece, he is more of, Akainu's justice, As long as you get to your end goal, it doesn't matter what you do to get there. It doesn't matter who you sacrifice to get the end goal of being justice.
Yes. And I think another way to look at stories in this aspect is if you look at Cowboy Bebop, right? Have you seen that?
I've seen a few episodes, yes.
Okay, so that doesn't have the biggest or best overarching plot. It's my favorite anime,
Yeah.
I think, but it doesn't have a great overarching plot. There's a lot of episodic, but
it's episodic with little plot points in there mixed in that lead toward the bigger plot.
Yes, absolutely are plots to each main character, and they all have their own story arcs and not necessarily even character growth, but they have character moments, and that's what each individual like episodic episode, if that makes sense.
That makes total sense.
It gives them time to show their characters and to shine as who they are, and that's what makes them so real, and that's what makes that show to me so impressive, is how real the characters are and how much we feel like we're hanging out with them. Whereas Death Note has like the point of Death Note is not necessarily to side with Light or L, it's to watch the story unfold. It's to let the author showcase their brain, in their opinion.
His big brain, and honestly, the fact, this is just personal opinion.
Yeah.
If it wasn't for the Shinigami eyes, which were a plot contrivance, they were introduced later on in the story.
Yep.
They were not written in the book at all. Every single other rule was written in the book. Every single other rule, except for the trade for the Shinigami eyes, was written in the book.
Yeah.
Once they saw that there was no way that they could write the story so Light could win, they introduced the Shinigami eyes through what's her name?
Misa.
Misa
Amani.
Yeah, they introduced Misa Amani with the Shinigami eyes as proof that it's a thing. That is the only way that worked. That is the only way that Light could have won, is with the Shinigami eyes.
Yeah.
Because L had him trapped every step of the way. L was smarter. Hands down.
Yes, absolutely.
Light was playing with a full deck. Like if we were to compare this, actually let's compare this to chess. Light was playing with a full board, whereas L didn't have half of his pieces. He was having to try to make a sum. He couldn't see what Light was doing. He could only assume what he was doing, whereas Light knew it directly because he was having Ryuk spy on him to do shit. I'm like, let's be honest. There's no way without the Shinigami eyes that Light should have won.
Yeah. And I think there's another manga that I recently read that really stuck with me, and I think they do this kind of cat and mouse game a little bit better, which was Dead Man Wonderland. And I think that's kind of a hot take. I think a lot of people, from what I've read, don't like that very much.
Dead Man Wonderland is honestly a really fun battle manga.
I loved it, and I think it was just long enough too, and it gave every character their own storylines. They gave all of them like really memorable fights too, which I think is so interesting.
The detective, I can never remember the detective's name. He was my favorite. The detective. With the blood blades. The blood blades.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. He was sweet.
He was the coolest.
So cool.
He was my favorite.
The main character Gant is kind of weak, and I can see that a little bit. But like the way he is like competing against the prison overlords and like the whole plot, and then all the twists that I'm not gonna like spoil for people who haven't read it, but like the twists ending of who's really pulling the strings and their cat and mouse games, I think are really well done and in a short time period.
How everything ties back together in the very end.
Yes.
And my
Dead
other
Man
thing,
Wonderland.
it's
in
underrated.
my top 5 manga.
I think it's criminally underrated.
Absolutely.
And here's another thing that I did not like about Death Note, and I mention this every single time that I talk about it. I think that the author, I think it's Oba is the author. It's either Oba or Abada. I'm terrible with names. Cannot write women to save their life.
Yeah.
Can you name me one good female character from Death Note?
The only female character I can name you from Death Note is Misa, and that's it.
Right, Misa
and her Shinigami.
Yep, and I didn't think Shinigami had sex. That's my thing. I was fully aware. I thought that all the Shinigamis were like, Barbie dolls down there, like flat. So saying that one's a guy and one's a girl, I'm like, what? How? What?
Yeah.
But and it's just one of those like. Dead Man Wonderland actually had some fairly well-written female characters. Like they had motivations on their own. They were they felt strong, and you felt threatened by them. Not like we're using them as a plot point. It's like what's her name with the hair?
The hummingbird, the sister.
Yeah, the sister.
She was hummingbird. I don't remember her name.
Yeah, doesn't matter. She was terrifying.
Awesome. She was so cool.
And she sat there and she was like,
she was so interesting.
And
her own motivations were so good. Oh my god.
Dead Man Wonderland, again, criminally underrated, is just the right length. And that ending.
Yes, I love the ending.
It paid off. God. I didn't want a sad ending, and it wasn't a sad ending, which is great. It was genuinely a happy ending for a super fucked up manga, which I think a lot of authors are afraid to do when it comes to fucked up manga. They're like, nah, it's gonna be messed up all the way through, and the ending's gonna make you cry.
It wasn't necessarily a happy ending either, but it was so good
because
it matched the tone.
Spoilers potentially ahead, people. So spoilers right here. I'll have my hands up like this. Mm-hmm. I mean, technically, both of them live at the end, don't they?
They do live, but Shiro's in prison still.
I mean, Ganta gets to go visit her in prison.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So it's not like she's alone and they're fulfilling their childhood dream. And spoilers are done. So, but I think it ends in a way that is both satisfying, honestly, for as bad as it could have been, is a happy ending. Then you get something like Battle Royale. There's no freaking happy ending.
Or Gantz. I mean, Gantz has kind of a happy ending. Have you read Gantz?
I did. I dropped Gantz after they went to the spaceship.
Oh my god. We're talking about that on the Sushi podcast today. Brandon's a big proponent for that ending, and I don't like it at all. I don't like that last arc.
I made it all the way to the spaceship, and I was like, I can't do this anymore.
Crazy. And it's like, you can tell that the author really thought he was hot shit with that part two, because he was like, it's gonna foil the Earth so perfectly, and da-da-da-da. Who's the real monster here? Like, that was clearly the point.
I was like, dude, don't be pretentious. You literally, your main character was a rapist.
Absolutely.
Let's call it like it is.
I mean, has development and stuff, and I'll admit that there's character development for him, whether it feels earned or not. I mean, there's another argument to be had, but
he was a shitty person before the events of the story. He was a shitty person at the very beginning of the story. And then, oh no, I'm suddenly become. I'm the
leader. I'm level 99, and you guys suck.
I was like, there is no point in like the beginning of the story that lets you believe that he would be anything. He should be a leader.
A jerk.
Yeah, he's a jerk. He has no leadership qualities.
I guess like the hint of him, and this is not a spoiler because this is in the first chapter.
Yeah,
where he goes to help the guy. Like that's, I guess it, but like even that's. He's like resisting that. He doesn't want to do that.
He only did it because the dude knew him and was calling his name to come and help him. He was like,
he was yelling
hey,
at him. So like,
buddy.
he was expected to go down there.
He was like, so it. That's what bothers me about it. It's like, everyone, and I hate when people try to force what they think is good character development on somebody. I'm like, listen, you can be like, if it wasn't for the fact that Gantz was so overrated, I think it's overrated. I also think, as One Piece being my favorite manga of all time, I think One Piece is overrated.
Yeah,
like, and that might be a hot take. I love One Piece. I want to get a One Piece tattoo. Like, I'm going to force my kids to read it, but I still think it's overrated.
Yes, I think you can absolutely still say that about your favorite piece of media.
Like One Piece is probably Harry Potter's probably my favorite piece of media of all time. And I think Harry Potter is absolutely 100% the most overrated young adult book. Like,
and it's revolutionary. Like, you could say that it's like one of the best books of our generation. It's like best series.
It's one of the most.
It can still be overrated.
I think it's one of the most game-changing like young adult novels of all time because it bridged the gap for everybody. It wasn't just because before young adult novels were like Magic Tree House, Catcher in the Rye. They were like they were like very like you had to be a young adult to read it, right? Like to understand the themes. But and I don't like J.K. Rowling as a person. I think that she's started to ruin the Harry Potter series. She's ruined her legacy. Like, but I think that what she did with the Harry Potter books was brilliant. It bridged a gap where anyone, because I first read the Harry Potter books. The first one that I read, so my parents read them to me starting when I was like 4, right?
Yeah.
4 or 5, because they came out over on this side of the pond in like 98, 99, right? I believe.
Yeah. I think it was 99.
99. My parents started reading me those books in 99. In 2001, I started reading the first book on my own. I was 6 when I started reading the first Harry Potter book by myself. Like, to me, I wouldn't have read Catcher in the Rye as a 6-year-old. Like, it's very specific. But like Harry Potter, I read when I was 6. I'm re-listening to the series right now. Like, I'm using Audible. It's Audible.
Yes.
This is 100% a plug. I also do it the way that people like book purists get mad at. I've literally read Harry Potter enough times that I listen to it at like 1.5 speed. I'm like, listen, I've listened to it through. I've literally listened to the audiobooks. This is my 4th listen through, I think.
Yeah.
I've read the books by themselves 5 times. I'm like, I've earned
films. Yeah. You know the story.
I know the story. I think I've deserved the right to listen to it at 1.5 speed. Like, I'm cool with that. And I listen to the Jim Dale versions because his Hagrid voice is primo.
Ooh.
But I think Harry Potter really bridged a gap for me as somebody who consumes, stories. I love it. I love reading it. It also helped convince me, like, thinking about it right now, that things that are made for young adults, quote unquote, are fine for adults to read as well. And I think
absolutely, and there can be depth to them too.
There can, like, we can't say this for a fact. Like, I can't say this for a fact, but I don't know if otaku culture would have been as widely accepted right now if it hadn't been for Harry Potter.
That's an interesting take. I can definitely see that.
It's Harry Potter made being nerdy mainstream. And that's that first step towards like.
And you can also attribute the MCU.
Oh yeah,
too.
The MCU was a massive Help. I think Dragon Ball Z really opened the doors. Like everyone says, Akira's the game-changing anime. I was like, there was no way that any 6-year-old was fucking watching Akira.
Yeah.
I'm like, but you tell a 6-year-old, who's your favorite Dragon Ball Z character from, like,
or Pokemon, or
because I was born
Yu-Gi-Oh, like all those ones that are
they name it iconic. Off the top of their, they're like, but they also had it from when they were kids. Like, the fact that Detective Pikachu came out 20 over 20 years after the games were released and made a ton of money. Proves that nostalgia is strong within us. And that's why I think an argument that I've made before, and I'll make every single time, One Piece is and always will be for young adults. It's designed to be in Shonen Jump, which is aimed at 14-year-olds. So when people start making complaints like, oh, this doesn't make very much sense, this would be so much better if they did X, Y, Z, I'm like, that's if you're reading an adult book, yes, but you need to read this with a child's mind. Like, this, like, Oda's writing this for 14-year-olds. I get that most of the audience, like half of your audience is, 19 and above, but the other half is like 17 and below.
Yeah, and I think it's important to state that doesn't detract from the meaning of One Piece or the themes and stuff that it tackles.
And that's, like, think about this. One Piece, Eyeshield 21, and Death Note were all published in Shonen Jump. They're all 3 very different story styles and very different reading styles. They're all aimed at young teenagers, adolescents. They're aimed at teenagers, but they all 3 take different approaches at telling a story. And that shows just how powerful media canon should be.
Absolutely. And I think that really, like, I'm a big Watanabe shill. Like, I love Cowboy Bebop. I love Samurai Champloo. I love Kids on the Slope. I haven't seen Space Dandy, but I'm sure I'd like it. I
Space Dandy's over the top.
Is it over the top? I mean that's unique to him then.
It's have you ever seen, like, the intro for Space Dandy?
I haven't seen the intro, but I've seen the characters, like the goofy Josuke looking hair.
Yeah,
the guy has.
How is that not over the top?
It sure is. But, like, and that's what makes, I think, his other ones so special, is they're all so tight knit and they're so grounded. Even Cowboy Bebop, that's from the 90s, but about the future. Like, everything, you can see how it evolved, even without it telling you.
Cowboy Bebop is quite honestly, like, it that was so much more for adults than anything else, just because of the story that it told, and it was so revolutionary. But the one thing that I will say, and you can also tell by the artwork. The artwork felt different than any of the other anime out at the time. Just like Dragon Ball and Dragon Ball Z. Dragon Ball Z anime was made in the 80s. But if you go back and watch those episodes and you compare it to anything from like the mid to late 90s, it looks like it's from that. It's literally 10 to 15 years older.
It's that.
Yeah, but it's
absolutely,
that's how revolutionary Dragon Ball was. Like, it changed the game for everybody. But you know, talking about manga that's supposed to be consumed and manga that's supposed to be broken down, it's a huge argument for people saying, "Oh, I hate Black Clover because it leans into all the shonen tropes, blah blah blah."
Or but Fairy Tail.
See, I have an argument for Fairy Tail, and I will always defend
Fairy Tail.
I will defend Fairy Tail because Mashima did such a good job on Rave Master. He needed something to emotionally calm himself down, and that was.
and I think like you said about consuming versus really digging into. Like Fairy Tail's one that you can shut your brain off and but still enjoy.
Yeah,
the fights are badass. The character designs are cool. The magic system's awesome.
And you know for a fact that he's going to depend. Like Natsu's going to get different after the first 2 arcs. You realize that it's going to be the power of friendships the entire way through, and you're like, you know what? Okay, I can accept this. And then you get to
the Grand Magic Games, and I'm sold. That is one of my favorite tournament arcs in all of anime.
Have you gotten to read Eden Zero yet?
I haven't.
Eden Zero is by Mashima.
Okay.
And I personally feel like it's better than Fairy Tail.
Ooh, okay.
It's darker. It's so dark. But you can also turn your brain off while you're reading it at the same time. Like, to put this in, like, this isn't spoilery, really, because they reveal this in the first chapter. Your 3 main characters are the exact same as what you have in a Fairy Tail. You have Natsu with a different hair, Rebecca with different hair, and Happy. And Happy's genuinely still blue. Like, he is still happy.
Awesome.
But it turns out that your MC Rebecca was abandoned at a young age, and Happy the cat is actually a robot now because the original Happy was run over by a fucking car.
Oh, that's crazy,
Yeah, so he's like a robot that turns into 2 like dual wielding pistols.
Yes, okay.
So I'm sitting there, I'm like, so Eden Zero is so fun and it's so fast paced.
Yeah.
But let's talk about the 2 most talked about when it comes to shonen, either following the tropes or bucking the tropes, and that's Black Clover and My Hero Academia.
Yep.
My Hero Academia is meant to try to be broken down. I think it's, again, a little pretentious at times.
Yeah, and I think there's some brain shut off in My Hero too that you have to do.
But Black Clover, like, they open up the story by basically saying, listen, this is a magical world with tomes. Turn your brain off. Let's do this shit.
This guy doesn't. Womp womp.
Womp womp womp. But he's strong.
He's buff.
But
he's gonna do push-ups. Come on, guys. He's gonna be good.
And I like, Black Clover is a 100% turn your brain off and consume.
I like Black Clover.
Don't worry about the story of Black Clover. It's still fun. I still think
and badass. They've got good fights and stuff.
And I think that Asta and Yuna are the best rivalry in shonen. Yeah, like, hands down. Because let's be real here, Luffy doesn't really have any rivalry, like, in shonen. You can't consider that.
Yeah, not compared to like a Naruto Sasuke like esque rivalry.
Naruto and Sasuke is like
Vegeta
a
rivalry.
Weird like abusive relationship in Naruto and Sasuke.
Kind of homoerotic too.
It's a little homoerotic, but like, I've never seen I've always seen Sasuke as like just a cool dude who didn't know how to associate with other people. Like, he was just so cool. Awkward. He was just like he was cool because he was like quiet and mysterious, but he actually tried to have conversations with people. Like, this motherfucker's crazy. Like, he's like 8. He's like, I'm gonna stab my brother in the face.
I'm gonna end the bloodline. I'm gonna get revenge.
And you're just sitting there like,
dude, calm down.
What? Like, you sure your brother just killed the entire clan? And I hate to tell you, it's proven that he's better than you were.
Yeah, good luck.
Good luck, fam. Or like Naruto, that when they say that he has no talent, but then you look back and he genuinely has so much talent. They're like, he has no talent. I'm like, he has like the largest chakra pool out of anybody, even without Kurama. Even without Kurama, he had a very large chakra pool. Then he added Kurama.
Shadow clones. Yep.
Yeah. I was like, see,
nice try.
You tried, Kishimoto. You tried, but Black Clover. you get to turn your brain off. My Hero Academia, you can read into it a little bit more.
Yeah.
I hate when people try to compare the two. They're two very different series made for two very different purposes. And Asta and Yuno are just fun because they're brothers.
They're fun, yeah.
They don't hate each other.
Yeah, they don't hate each other, but they want to make each other better, and they want to be better because of each other.
And they rib each other. They were both like when one of them says the other, like, "Ha, you're weaker now, sucker."
Yeah, nice try. I'm gonna be the Magic Emperor, not you, dweeb. Get it together.
And then Asta comes back like,
can do that to each
then
other.
Asta's like, "No, I'm gonna be the Magic Emperor.
Yeah,
suck it.
Look at this horn. Nice try, Yuno. Do you have a horn? Nope.
No, you
Get
don't."
out of here.
And then Yuno's like, "Yeah, but I have elf ears now. So what are you gonna do?" And Asta's like, you have elf ears?
Oh, now listen here. I got a wing.
I have 2 wings.
Yep. Get out of here,
dude. There's just so much fun in shonen manga and anime that I think you have to look at it from two different mindsets.
Absolutely.
You either have to say, is this a consumable manga, or is this a brain turn off manga? Like Hunter x Hunter is not consumable. Like I don't want to be a dick. You have to be actively paying attention and reading.
You have to fucking take notes in Hunter x Hunter, at least with the hiatus hiatus that it goes on. Hiatuses.
Exactly. And, I'm going to say something controversial here. I think Berserk is more of a consumable manga than a breakdown manga.
Really? Oh, we're gonna have a conversation about this one then.
So I love Berserk. I think Berserk is well written. I think it's very, very good.
Yeah.
But compared to something like Hunter x Hunter, where you can turn your mind off specifically and just flip through the pages of Berserk and you can still get the story. Like you still understand the world as a whole by just consuming it. Like you don't need to break it down. If you break it down, you get more enjoyment out of it for sure.
Sure, but
But I think the way that it's been designed, you're not asking any moral or philosophical questions. You're not really right now.
In Berserk?
You could argue that the current arc where you have the White Hawk, you could argue that, but it also comes down to personal experiences, right? To me, I don't think there's a moral question. I think that what Griffith is trying to do, he sacrificed all of it. He literally sacrificed his friends to hell to gain more power. I think that's, again, to me personally, that's wrong, right? He mentally made that choice. He actively made the choice to do the thing that he did to Casca.
Yep.
Like, to screw with Guts. Like, morally wrong.
Yeah.
And he's wanting to rule over mankind. Falconia. And he's trying to make it seem like it's peaceful. However, he's creating false situations to make that possible. He's the one introducing the demons. He's the one who introduced the who is that king from India? And the Indian guy king.
Oh my god.
You know which guy I'm talking about.
Yeah, old Longbeard.
Yeah, Longbeard, who was like, realistically, Griffith helped introduce all these situations to create a situation where people would be accepting of him as a savior. To me, there's no moral questions to really ask right now other than with Guts. And even then, Guts isn't a good person.
No, he's not.
And I think, to me, that's why I find it so easily consumable, because I've made these decisions while reading the first few arcs where you really get to know both of these characters. I think the very beginning you do need to break it down. I will say that. I think the beginning needs to be broken down a little bit more, but then after that you can consume it because you're understanding you only have 2 characters really to follow. You could argue that the Casca blonde chick who used to be religious thing is kind of important. But your 2 main characters are Guts and Griffith. And you know that in every single situation where they're going to stand at the precipice.
So let me argue against that really quickly about Guts specifically. Okay,
all right.
Because I think you can absolutely see his growth as a character throughout the arc. So beginning, he gets violated and does not want anything to do with anyone. Right?
Nope.
He is alone, wants nothing to do with people. He meets Griffith and the Band of the Hawk. It takes a while, but then he comes accustomed. That's his family, loves them. Okay? The eclipse happens, back to alone. Okay? And then
actually, that's not true. You're forgetting one thing right there. You're forgetting one very important thing. You're forgetting the 2-year span where Guts he went from alone Ban of the Hawk, Alone, Ban of the Hawk, then the eclipse happened.
Yeah, okay. You're right. And I think that goes to my point, though, to my credit, is that because so the eclipse happens, then he becomes friends with Puck and starts getting more friends, and he's like putting band-aids and starting to heal from the damage done by Griffith. And so I think the way he would respond at each part of his journey is a lot different, because look at the little kid who has the salamander blade or whatever, who wants to be like Guts. Like, Guts has started to take him under his wing more now. And that's not something he would have done in the beginning. He would not have been that mentor figure.
Can I offer a counter argument to your counter argument of my argument?
Yes, please.
I think we're also looking at consumption as under two different definitions right now.
Okay.
I think that I'm looking at it as you don't need to break down the story to follow it well. That's how I'm saying this, right?
Sure. Okay.
For me, you can follow the story, and this might be, I might be contradicting myself. That's very possible. But to me, you don't need to fully break down the story to see Guts' character growth and development. Like, it's very clear, like, in his design, in his actions, in his paneling. In fact, how he appears in panels, you can see that it's changed. And to me, you don't need to break down the story to do that, to see that. Like, you can consume it.
Yes. The thing that I have issued, though, with what you said originally was that you said there's not as much moral or philosophical points to be made, or something along those lines you said.
You're right.
And I think there sure is moral and philosophical dilemmas and things. Like, it's Berserk as a whole is an allegory, right? Where each character stands for something of a human trait, right? So Guts is courage, is masculinity incarnate, okay? And Griffith is more of an effeminate figure. And so Guts has the big long sword, you know, his name is Guts, he slices everything, like, he is masculinity incarnate. That's what he is. And so seeing his growth and how he interacts with the other characters, which represent different parts of humanity, I think there is a lot to dig into there. And like you said, consumption is not, you need to do that, right? I don't think you need to do that to understand the story of Berserk, but I think you're missing panels and you're missing pages if you don't dig into it like that.
I can agree, which is why, like I said, I think Berserk is a weird one where it can be both consumable and break down and be broken down, and I think it can be enjoyed both ways. And I think you can get the gist of the story through consumption, but I will agree fully and 100% agree that that to enjoy it to its highest extent, breaking it down is important.
Yeah. And I think also with Hunter x Hunter, I think can be in that category too, though. I
think as much as I would love to agree with that, there's so much that you miss if you don't break down Hunter x Hunter. Like, so much more, to me anyway, and this is, again, everything that we talk about, obviously, and this is me talking to the club, you know, you understand this from an argument, not an argumentative, but from a debate point of view. Everything that we see and consume is subjective to our own experiences, how we interpret things. And that's, I think, an important thing to understand when you're talking about media is your experience of it is subjective. All right, now back to the real discussion between Evan and I. I think for me, Hunter x Hunter, there's so much history that's verbally explained, and not shown, but verbally explained, that you miss it if you're not breaking it down, if you're not really trying to pay attention. Whereas if you compare it to Berserk, you could understand what's going on by removing the word panels. You could understand the story
to an extent.
And I think, again, you'd miss certain subtleties for sure. I will agree that you would miss certain subtleties, but I think more of Berserk's story is there if you remove the panels, because they're telling the story through the panels, through the pacing,
the visual storytelling, and the
exactly.
character design.
Whereas Hunter x Hunter, you remove those panels, and there's going to be full chapters where you don't understand what's going on. Yeah,
and I think that's a little bit of recency bias with the arc that it's in currently and how distant it's been between chapters. I think that this arc that they're in currently in Hunter x Hunter is specifically very difficult to follow due to, like, the intricacies of this arc in itself, plus the distance between chapters.
See, this is where I'm about to actually turn this argument on its head. I have not read the most recent arc of Hunter x Hunter.
Okay.
So everything that I'm talking about is basically from the end of the Chimera Ant arc and before.
Okay.
If you were to really take away the word bubbles, and let's take a look at the tower, where they learn how to use Nen. There are full chapters in there where they do exposition still. If you were to remove the word bubbles, you wouldn't really be able to understand what's going on, because he's trying to build this full immersive world where you are a part of it, which is awesome. I think that's a great way to go about storytelling in certain instances when you're wanting to add. But with Berserk, the world is built by how it looks. Like, you see it and you understand how the world is probably going to function. Like, if you drop into a town, you see, okay, this is kind of medieval. This is like, you know, kind of, not ancient isn't the right word, but this is kind of like a low-tech situation, right?
Sure.
And you understand, okay, I understand how this world is going to work. And then, again, the story kicks off with the gigantic demons. And to me, and I know this sounds weird, to me, I could understand how the world of Berserk works if you took away all of the words. I would understand, because he built the world in such a way that they balance, they don't necessarily depend on each other, but they enhance each other. The words and the visuals enhance each other.
So I think that's an interesting point, because I think my counter argument is the world of Berserk is more familiar to the general public, and like, we know that a sword is going to slice through things, right?
Exactly.
Whereas the tower arc you're specifically talking about, that's where they introduce Nen, right? And that power system is not very familiar compared to other power systems. Like, the difference between Hisoka's power and the difference between Gon's power and Killua, like, their powers are so unique, it's hard to fully understand that due to that power system. I don't know that that's inherently like a breakdown type thing.
Oh, and I can agree, and I think that that's part of the reason why Berserk works so well, though, is he's taken a world that we're very familiar with from movies, from media, from history, and he's just changed enough of it that even in our minds, those small changes, like the Bailet, makes sense because there's a form of it in media. Whereas with Hunter x Hunter, he made a completely new world and new universe that he has to
different from his past works.
Exactly,
too. Like, it's totally different than Yu Yu Hakusho.
Exactly, and he has to, but he has to explain it verbally, and you have to pay attention. And I think that's where the difference is between something that's consumable is your brain is filling in the gaps without being needed told what's there, being needed. Told. That was improper English. You know what I'm trying to say, though. Your brain doesn't need to be told what's going on. Your eyes see it, and it fills in the gaps.
Yeah, and it's not a black or white. It's not a good or bad thing. We're not trying to say Hunter. I'm not trying to say Hunter x Hunter's bad and Berserk is great. And neither are you. You're not trying to go backwards. We both love both these series.
Yes, they both hold very special places in my heart. It's like I said, to me, I think one is more consumable, where one is is broken down more.
Yes.
Like,
and I think I think there's a reason that Hunter x Hunter's anime works well, and Berserk hasn't had a good anime adaptation yet.
Because we know how the Berserk world should move. Like, logically, we know that, okay, like, everyone here except for the demons basically move like normal people.
Yes.
And that makes it so much harder to do gigantic over the top things.
Yes. And I think what would be really interesting, and this is kind of like my big idea for a Berserk anime, is that they should do one that's exclusively in black and white, an anime adaptation in black and white, but with red for blood and for the eclipse scene. Otherwise, keep everything black and white.
I'd be interested in seeing that.
And I think that's the way that they can really get that story across in an interesting manner that keeps the spirit of the manga intact. Or,
and this one might be a little controversial, I think if you were to do it in the artworks, in the coloring style of a Miyazaki movie.
Okay.
Like, let's use...
See that? Yeah.
God.
Like, Spirited Away, look at the dragon.
Exactly,
right?
Spirited Away, or...
the dragon guy.
What is... The one with the magic people... Not Nasuka. Oh, it's Sydney's favorite. Don't tell her that I forgot what this one was.
There's Castle in the Sky, Mononoke...
I think it's Castle in the Sky. Wait,
that seems right.
No, not Castle in the Sky. It's the one. It's the one with Batman as a voice actor.
That doesn't help me at all.
Yeah, Christian Bale.
Like
Christian Bale was
Spirited Away?
No, Christian Bale was the voice Howl's Moving Castle.
Oh, duh. Okay. Duh. Yeah.
Sorry.
Mm-hmm.
How can I not remember? He was the voice of Howl. But I think Berserk with that kind of arts, like that kind of coloring style, I think could work very, very well because it feels a little bit dirtier than the rest of the Miyazaki movies do. And it feels very... Like, the dark scenes in there feel dark. They feel kind of mystical, but it still feels realish, which I think is needed for Berserk anime.
Yes, and I think especially, like, when we're talking about consumption versus breaking down, I think Berserk, you need to break down the visual aspect, the visual storytelling, and you cannot let that get unnoticed in an anime adaptation.
No.
Or you're missing half the story.
You are, and I think, like I said, if you were... Imagine... Could you picture a silent Hunter x Hunter anime? Like, no words, nothing like that. Maybe some music in the background to help with the scenes and sound effects, obviously, but no words. Could you picture that?
I think to a certain point. I think the Hunter, like the exam arc you could have, because that's so familiar. And I think potentially, like the York New City arc you could have doing that, but you'd have to have the Nen powers explained.
Yeah, but what about with Berserk? Could you picture a Berserk anime where, you know... It again, sound effects, all the sound effects except for words are included. I could picture Berserk anime doing that a lot easier.
With no voice acting could be very powerful. And I think that could go to its credit.
And I think that is, to me, the difference between consumption and breaking down. If you can picture an anime without words and still get a powerful story across and understand it, that's consumption to me. Yeah,
and I think that's a fair point and a fair... I can agree with those definitions for sure, but I think that there's also like a breakdown needed of the visual aspects of Berserk too,
absolutely,
versus the consumption of the visual aspects.
Absolutely. Like you're doing yourself a disservice if you're not trying to break down what you're reading.
If you're not really looking at the images and the positioning and the paneling, everything is so carefully designed in Berserk.
And let's go to Black Clover. You know. I think you're doing yourself a disservice if you don't realize how much the author actually understands shonen tropes.
Yes.
Like, you are doing yourself a major disservice because he hits on so many of them so often. Like, it just feels... It doesn't feel like he's forcing them to be in there. It just feels like they're supposed to be there. And to me, that's a great thing, and I love it.
Yes, and that's something I learned in college, is you can't... Like a high schooler can say they're making something unique in a poem, and they're just writing a bunch of like letters and stuff. Whereas if you look at, was that you?
I definitely don't have. I definitely don't have a book of poetry already typed up.
Ooh,
it's not great.
Let's get that published.
You know what? I'll do if I can find it. If I can genuinely find it, Evan, I will send it to you.
Sweet. Oh, I'm excited. But like, and then there's T.S. Eliot and Emily Dickinson, which are very interesting poets that do things. You're definitely not looking those up right now, are you?
I know who they are. Okay.
Oh, impressive. I don't know that I believe you, but because I can see some reflections in your glasses. But anyways, they do very unique things, breaking conventions in poetry, but they can do that because they understand the conventions so well. And I think that's like important to consider with Black Clover and My Hero, both in different ways, right? Like My Hero can break some of those conventions because the author understands it so well. Whereas and Black Clover utilize them very well.
He's just like, nah, we gonna do this. Like he's like, I know them, I understand them, I respect them. And to be honest here, I couldn't name anything from Emily Dickinson. Like I couldn't tell you what her works are, but I know about Emily Dickinson. Please,
you've heard the name. At least.
Yes, obviously. I went to Catholic high school. I went to Catholic.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so which makes it sound for everyone saying, "Oh man, that must mean that you came from money." No, we were actually the cheapest Catholic high school, basically in the United States.
Yes.
$1,200 a year, baby. Compared to there's one college, there's one Catholic high school down here in KC that costs like $10,000 to $12,000 per student.
Awesome.
Yeah, I'm like, that's not cool.
No thanks.
But anyway, we are actually well over our hour right now because we have way too much fun. I know that you have another podcast to get on to in like 45 minutes.
Yeah, shortly.
Very shortly. Evan, It's time for my favorite part of the Manga Club. It's where I look around and come up with a random question.
Oh, I'm so excited.
Are you ready for this?
Yes. Oh my gosh, I've been waiting for this.
I just thought about this right now.
Yes, please.
What kind of pants are you?
What kind of pants am I?
What kind of pants are you?
Okay. Do you mean what type of pants do I wear, or what type of pants do I represent?
What is your spirit pants?
My spirit pants?
Your spirit pants. Like,
I think...
You're in the Midwest. I mean, are you cargo shorts? Are you short shorts? Are you khakis? Are you dress slacks? Are you jeans? Are you those Janko jeans?
I am a very stretchy and comfortable pair of dress pants.
Ooh.
That's what I am. I'm looking in my closet right now, and I can see which one is drawn to me.
Interesting.
They're very fancy. They can be very formal, but they also fit super well, and they can conform to whatever I'm doing. I can wear them out to dinner at a bar, or I can wear them to a professional meeting.
Interesting. See, I am 100% a pair of squat shorts.
Squat shorts? Oh,
squat
of course
shorts.
You are. I do see that.
They're like, I'm actually wearing a pair right now.
Yes.
They are floral. I'm not standing up because they've actually ridden up super high, and it would look really, really wrong right now.
You're just giving the tease to everyone.
It would be very uncomfortable for all of us. I don't think I'd be able to make eye contact with the Manga Club.
Oh no.
But yes, I am a pair of squat shorts because
I can see that.
I actually hate regular basketball shorts now. They're just not
really?
I don't find them very comfortable.
I'm a big proponent for basketball shorts, but that's not my spirit pants.
And if we're gonna be honest here, like, my spirit pants are either squat shorts or like a very nice worn-in pair of jeans that are starting to get a little bit of that chub rub in the upper thigh area.
Yes,
And they're like, they're on that weird cusp of being like good in every situation. Like, I could wear them to like something a little bit more, semi-formal and no one really questioned it, or I can wear it out to mow a lawn. Like, they're like really versatile, but we both know that the chub rub's gonna go through one day and there's gonna be an iron-on patch, and eventually they're just gonna be reserved for casual situations.
Exactly.
That's how it is. So, Evan, this is the end of the show. Let everyone know where they can find you on Twitter, on the American Sushi Podcast. What do you have coming up? Let the Manga Club know.
All right. So I am on Twitter at Blue4, BLOOFOUR. That is my Twitter account. I am on twitch.tv/American_sushi. I stream there, but we also stream our podcast there. And then on YouTube and Spotify, it's the American Sushi Podcast. Look us up. It is with me and Too Spooky, which you guys all know. I'm sure he has some wonderful Manga Club appearances that I highly recommend. I watched one of them all the way through in preparation for having the Aloha Sensei himself on our American Sushi Podcast. That episode is great. Go check it out if you haven't seen it already.
Absolutely. You guys need to go watch the American Sushi Podcast. It was a fun time for me to be on. I have never heard anything negative about it so far. Even for myself, I can't say anything negative. It was just a fun experience. And you need to go watch when Evan streams his Pokemon playthroughs.
Ooh,
that's
you did your research too? Okay.
Darn right. Who do you think I am? I am the Lo Hali. For everyone who is just joining me for the first time, welcome to the Manga Club. For everyone who's been here for forever, welcome back. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, do all that normal YouTube junk. And for everyone new and old, welcome and welcome back. It's your boy Lo Hali, and I will see you next video.